Hello everyone and welcome to this lab session. In this session we will look at how you can create your first RDS database in AWS. So for that we will go to the search console and search for RDS. And here you can see we have the managed relational database service. So let's click on this. So this is how your console looks like for Amazon RDS. And over here you can see you have the databases option. So you can create your first database either going to this databases option or create database option from here. So I will go to the databases option and create database. Now in order to create a database you have two options. Either you can go for a standard create. For this standard create option you have to configure each and everything on your own, considering whatever services you want, what are the VPC networks you want for this particular database. But if you want to create your database with the help of the recommended best practices, then it is recommended that you go for easy create option. But I would recommend to always go for the standard create, as in this option you have the flexibility to control each and every settings that you want for your database. So after that we have the option for engine type. So as you can see, these are the 6 database engine types that Amazon RDS supports. So you have Amazon Aurora, MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server. So for this tutorial we will be looking at the most common one, which is MySQL. So let's click on this option, and over here then you have the version, like what version you want. So we will go with the default version, MySQL 8.0.27, and then you have templates. So the first template in the list we have is production. So this template is always used when you have your database up and running and ready to be published publicly or in your private network, and where you want that database to be deployed. So this is the production environment where you want it to be used. Then you have the development and test environment template, where you can have your developer developing some sort of algorithms or logics for the database and tester testing them. And then you have a free tier, so we will be going with the free tier option. But I would like to show one thing over here, that for the production and development test you have an option for availability and durability as well. So what does that mean? So basically for the deployment option you can actually create multiple backups of your databases. So as you can see, for the first option you have the feasibility to create a primary database cluster and then 2 readable standby DB instances as well. But if you go for multiple AZ DB instances, in that it will create a primary DB instance for you and then a single standby DB instance in different AZ. So AZ is basically regions, by the way. And then you have the single DB instance option. So this is the most basic one. So you do not have any standby DB instances and you only have a single DB instance to work with. So for the free tier we actually get this single DB instance. So we will use the free tier as of now. And then in the settings you have the DB instance identifier. So basically DB instance is an isolated database environment running in the cloud inside the AWS. Basically it is a building block of Amazon RDS. So you need to give an identifier name over here. So the name I would take is RDS instances, and then you need to give the credentials. So I will go with the admin username. Then you have the option to auto generate a password, or you can create your own password as well. So I will create my own password over here. The next thing is the DB instance class. So basically the DB instance class determines the computation and memory capacity of an Amazon RDS DB instance. So as of now you can see over here that we have burstable classes selected, and these two options, the standard classes and the memory optimized classes, are disabled. The reason is that we are not in the development or test environment or either in the production. So if you enable one of them you will find that that also gets enabled. So for the free tier you have burstable classes mode only, and over here you can see that we have dbt2 micro, dbt3 micro and dbt4g micro that can be used. So for this tutorial we will stick with the basic one, and you can see that these are the 2 basic ones. So you have dbt2 micro, which provides you 1 virtual CPU with 1 GB of RAM, and it is not EBS optimized, by the way. And then you have dbt3 micro, so it provides you 2 virtual CPUs with 1 GB of RAM and a network of 2085 Mbps. So I would recommend going with this settings for dbt3 micro, and then just include the previous generation classes as well. So this option is for those users who have been using this RDS service and have not upgraded to an upgraded version of the DB instance. Alright, so then we have the storage option. So for storage you have general purpose SSD, provisioned IOPS and magnetic. So we will go with the general purpose SSD for now, and the allocated storage is 20 gigabytes. By the way, you also have the option to auto scale the storage. So if you feel a need like your database is going to take more than 20 gigabytes, so you can actually enable the storage auto scaling as well. But if it's not required, you can simply just disable it for now. So as you can see, the maximum and minimum that you can go is from 21 GB to a maximum of 16384 gigabytes. So let's just keep it enabled for now. And then you have an important setting, that is the connectivity. So basically whenever you create a database instance, so as of now, like we are creating a MySQL database, so that needs to be assigned to a particular VPC. Now that VPC is a virtual private network where all of your other resources for AWS also exist. So for now we will go with the default option, or if you want you can also create a new one, but it is always recommended that even if you want to create a new VPC, you always go to the VPC console in the EC2 instances and create a VPC there, and then move back to this connectivity option and just select the VPC that you want. So for now we are going with the default VPC, and whatever resources that you want it to connect with this database particular instance, so you need to make sure that this is the VPC that you also assign to those resources as well. And then moving on, we have the subnet group. So we will keep the subnet group default as well. Same instructions for subnet group. If you want another subnet group for this particular database, so go to the subnet group option in the EC2 instances dashboard and just create a new one for yourself. Then you have an interesting option over here that says public access, so it is selected no for now. So if you select no, only those resources that are inside that VPC can only connect. And if you want to give a public access, for example, if you want to connect to this database from a local host or anywhere from the internet, so you need to give it a public access. So for now we will go with the no option, as we will only be accessing it with the EC2 instance that we will create in one of our next session. And then you have the VPC security group. So for the security group, you can see over here that we have choose existing option, or either you can create a new group. So we will go with the choose existing one, and which is the default one. So you can also see that the previous security groups that we created are also available over here, but we will go with the default option for now. And again the same instructions, that the EC2 instance, if you want an EC2 instance to be connected to this database, you need to make sure that the security group is also the same. And then you have the availability zone. So as we are working in North Virginia region, so the availability zone are all of these. So if you want, you can also select the availability zone as well. But as we are not interested in making a backup, so we will go with the no preference option. Then you have some additional configurations. So by default, it is a point to remember that the databases in AWS, the RDS databases in AWS uses 3306 port by default. So we will keep this same for now. And then it asks you like what is the database authentication mode that you want to use. So we have password authentication, but if you want to apply more layers for security for this database, so you can go for password and IAM database authentication or password and KBROS authentication. So for now we will keep it simple and we will go with the password authentication mode. Then we have some additional configurations. So you can give initial database name over here, then the database parameter group, backup. So if you want a backup, you can also enable some automated backups as well. We will keep it nice and simple and won't enable the backups for now. Then you have the encryption. So encryption is enabled for this, and the AWS KMS key will be used for this encryption. So it is the default provided by AWS itself, so we don't need to worry about it. And then if you want some monitoring and log export, so you can also go with that option as well. Moving on, then it shows you the estimated monthly cost. So as of now we are using a free tier, so we don't need to worry about it. But if you are using a development template or a production template, then you do need to worry about it, because Amazon RDS is going to cost you a lot if you do not consider the changes that you are keeping for your database. So keeping all of these things as settings as shown, let's create this database. Alright, so now you can see that the database is being created and it is in the creating mode. It will take a couple of minutes to get it ready so that the database is ready, and then we can use it for our further applications. So with this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can configure the settings for your Amazon RDS database in AWS. Hello everyone and welcome to this lab session. In this session, we will create an EC2 instance that will connect to our RDS database instance we created previously. So as of now, you can see that our RDS instances database is now up and running. So you can see it is available. So next thing we will do is we will go to the services and search for EC2. I will open it up in a new tab. Now over here we will create a new EC2 instance. So for that we will go to the EC2 dashboard and we will launch a new instance. So I will select the Amazon Linux 2 AMI machine, select this. We will go with the default T2 micro which is available in the free tier. Next, inside the configuration, what I will do is I will write down a bash script that will be related to installing the MySQL in that instance that we are going to launch. So for that I have this script ready with me. So here what this script will do is it will update yum and then we will install MySQL. As no user intervention will be there, so by default we have allowed with -y. Let's proceed. Let the storage be the default one. Then we have the tags, so you can add a tag over here as well. So let me add a tag. I will name this instance as EC2-RDS. Let this security group be a new one that it will create. So I will just change this name. I will copy the same name over here as well. Let's go ahead, review and launch this instance. I will create a new key pair. Let's wait for it so that the EC2 instance is up and running. So here it is. It will take a couple of minutes to start up and initialize so that we can use it for our application. So let's wait for it. Alright, so now you can see that the instance is running and it is initializing. So let me just refresh it. And here you can see that now it is up and running. So I will go to this instance and let's connect to this instance with the username as EC2-user and let's connect to it. So during the creation of this EC2 instance, we asked this instance to install the MySQL for us. So let's just check that if it is installed or not. So for that I will type down MySQL -- version and here you can see that MySQL has installed successfully. So I will just clear the screen and now what we are going to do is we have our EC2 instance and we have our RDS instance as well. Now we need to connect both of them together. But as of now, as both of them are not in the same security group or not in the same VPC, so they won't be able to connect. So for that what we will do is we will go to the RDS that we just created. Click on this RDS. Here you can see the VPC security group. Just go to this security group and in here we will go ahead and edit the inbound rules. So I will edit the inbound rule and I will add a new rule and that will be for the MySQL. So this is the MySQL. So over here in the source I will add the security group. So if you remember, our security group is EC2-RDS-SG. This is our security group. Just save the rule. The rule is now saved. In order to connect to the instance, we need to have the endpoint for the database. So moving back to the RDS itself, inside the connectivity and security you will find this endpoint. You just need to copy it and over here I will go and paste it. So you just need to track the code that I am writing over here. So we have MySQL and then we are giving the endpoint that we just copied and then we have the port number and then after that the admin, which is the username for this database instance we just created. So just hit enter, it will ask you for the password. Type in the password that you just created for this database instance and here you go. So now you can see that we have logged in successfully and if you don't see this screen, so that means that you have done some errors in your security group configurations or your VPC configurations while creating the EC2 instance and not engaging it with the security group of the database instance that we created. Let us just run some commands. So if you just type down status, so you can see that it shows you all the status for the databases. So this is how you connect your RDS with your EC2 instance and then you can access that particular RDS database with this EC2 instance. In our upcoming sessions, we will look at how you can interact with your database. We will first create a database and then we will try to interact with that database with the help of the EC2 instance. Hello everyone and welcome to this lab session. In this session, we will look at how you can interact with your RDS database that you create inside your RDS instances. So for that, first thing first, you can see over here that we have modified our RDS instance that we created. And what I have done is I have changed the publicly accessible status from no to yes. This is because I wanted to access my databases from a third-party tool, which is MySQL Workbench. So you can actually access it from any third-party tool or from your EC2 instance. So what we will do is we will go to the EC2 instance and connect to this RDS that we created. And now as you can see that it shows none. So basically there are no databases inside this RDS instance. So we will go ahead and create a new database. So I will create database and RDS DB1. Hit enter, and now here you can see that the database is created. And I will go to my SQL workbench and just refresh it. So you can see that the RDS DB1 also exists over here as well. We will go ahead and create a new database, and this time from my SQL workbench. But before that, if I just show you the databases that we have right now. So you can see that we have RDS DB1, the SYS is by default. So RDS DB1 is the one that we just created. So moving back, we will create a new database from this MySQL workbench. So create database and let's name it as RDS DB2. Run this query and you can see that the database has been created successfully. Just refresh it and you can also see the database appears over here, but there are no tables as of now. From the EC2 instance, let's see. And now you can see that the same RDS database instance is also created over here as well. Let's move ahead and select one of the database and try exploring that how you can perform multiple SQL queries in that database. So I will go ahead and use the RDS DB1. So here we go. Now you can see that RDS DB1 is now selected. So let's go ahead and create a table with the name customers. So I already have a query saved with me. You can also find it in the resource section as well. So what this will do is it will create a table for customers and it will have ID as integer type, then the name of the customer as varchar variable type, then the age, address and the salary and the primary key. So hit enter and now you can see that the table has been created. So I will go to the MySQL workbench and now you can see there is a drop down inside the tables as well, and you can see that the customer table has been created with columns, the one we have just provided, the ID, name, age, address and salary. You can also add some values to this database. So let's say I want to add, so here I am adding the first value. So this is the ID will be 1, then the name, age, the address and then the salary. So hit enter. I will add 2 more values over here. So we have the second one and here we have the third one. So now we have a database which contains these 3 values. Let's see how you can have a look at that. So for that, first I will show the tables. So the show tables command will actually show you what are the tables that exist inside this RDS DB1 database. So you can see that we have the customers table over here, and then we will go ahead and perform a query that will show you the complete table, like what are the data points inside this customer table. So for that we will select star from customers table. This is a very common query in SQL. Hit enter and here you can see that we have the data points that we just created. So this is pretty much it. It is very simple to use, and you can also see same queries can be performed from this database as well. So the first thing first, you need to tell the MySQL workbench which database you want to use. So we will be using RDS DB1. Run this query. So the query is successfully executed and now you can perform the queries. So let's perform this query, and here you can see the same dataset that we created is also accessible from the third-party tool as well. So this is how you interact with your databases in RDS. With this, I hope you have got an understanding of interacting with your RDS databases inside your AWS account. Hello everyone and welcome to this lab session. In this session, we will look at how you can delete your tables, delete your databases and your RDS instance in AWS, so that if you are not using it, you do not get charges incurred in your AWS account. So here we were previously looking at the tables. If we just look at right now, we have the RDS DB1 table selected, and if you see show tables, so it will show you that this is the tables that exist right now. We will go ahead and drop this table. So for that we have the command drop table and then the table name. So the table name is customers, and now you can see that the query has been executed successfully. So if I now go ahead and try to see the tables, so you will find that the table is no more available inside this database. In the same way, you can also drop the database as well. So we will drop the database, and the database name is RDS DB1. And now you can see that the RDS DB1 is not selected because we have deleted this database. Now in the same way, you can also delete other databases that exist and that was created by you. So for that, we have the RDS DB2. So we will drop this database as well. And now you can see we will not have any other database existing that we created. So I will just log out of this machine and I will go back to the RDS console. We will go to the RDS, and inside the databases we will go ahead and first we go to the action and click on stop, and then once it is stopped, you can go ahead onto the actions and delete this RDS instance. So we will wait for this RDS instance to be stopped, and then after that we will delete it. Alright, so now you can see that the instance has been stopped. So we'll go to the action, click on delete and type down delete me, and here you go. So now you can delete this database instance. So with this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can delete your tables, delete your databases, and remove your instance by completely terminating it from your AWS account. Hello everyone, and welcome to this lab session. In this session, we will look at how we can create tables in AWS DynamoDB. So for that, we will go to the DynamoDB service first. So just search for DynamoDB, and here we have it. This is what the dashboard for Amazon DynamoDB looks like. So Amazon DynamoDB is a fully managed NoSQL database service that supports key value and document data structures. So to create a table, you need to go to the create table option over here. The first thing to create a table in DynamoDB is to give a table name. So right now we will be creating a table that will contain the employees' data, their salaries and their names. So for that, we will name this table as employee details. Then we need to give in the partition key and the sort key. So partition key is basically a table's primary key in DynamoDB. It is actually a hash value that will be used by this DynamoDB to retrieve items from the table that we create. For this partition key, we will give it the key as employee ID. So employee ID will be our partition key. And then we have the sort key, which is optional. So basically, with the help of sort key, you can sort or search among all the items that are inside your DynamoDB table, and that actually shares the same partition key. So we will give a sort key employee name, and then we will move on to the settings. So inside the settings, you have two options. You can either go with the default settings or you can go with the customized settings. So let's explore the customized settings option. So inside the customized setting option, you can see that we have the table class. So we have two options for the table class. Either you can go for DynamoDB standard or you can go for DynamoDB standard infrequently accessed. So IA basically stands for infrequently accessed. So if you have your data that is accessed a lot of time and you always need to access that data and perform some queries, so you should go for the DynamoDB standard option. But if you have a database that actually contains data that is infrequently accessed, so you must go for the DynamoDB standard infrequently accessed option. So right now we will go with the DynamoDB standard option, and then you have the read-write capacity settings. So inside the read-write capacity settings, by default the DynamoDB settings allows you provision read-write capacity. So if you go for the on-demand capacity, depending upon your usage, your read-write capacity will be auto-scaled. But in the provision, either you need it or not, you have a value set for read capacity as well as the write capacity. So we will go with the provision read-write capacity as of now. Then you have the secondary indexes, but we won't be using it as of now. And then the estimated cost. So the estimated cost for total read capacity and write capacity having 5 as their values is 2.91 per month. And right now you can see that it is set it up to 10 for both of these. So we don't need to worry about it as it would be covered in our free tier. Moving on, then we have the encryption. So encryption is by default owned by Amazon DynamoDB, so we don't need to worry about it. If you want, you can also go for AWS managed key or the other encryption method that you have in your account. So right now, these are our settings pretty much. So let's go and create our table. So as simple as that. So you can see that the table is now created. So we will go to our table, and over here you can see that we do not have any items as of now. So the item summary shows you that there are no item count. So you can go to the explore table items, and in there you can go ahead and create item. So we will be creating some data over here. We have the partition key and the sort key, and you can also add some new attributes from this option over here as well. So we have our first employee as FA101 and the name is Shoaib. So we can add a new attribute. So we can add salary as an attribute, and we can create this item. So you can see over here in our table we have our new item created. The good thing about DynamoDB is it has flexibility in attributes. So as compared to the conventional SQL database, you can have multiple attributes for different items in your database. So for example, if you go and create a new item, and we can also add attribute for this one, so salary, and you can add one more attribute as well, which was not for the previous employee. So let's say we have his bonus as 500 and create this item. So you can see that it allows you to create the item with multiple attributes as well. So for this one you can see we have 3 attributes for employee ID FA105, but for FA101 we have only 2 attributes. This is the good thing about DynamoDB database. We will go ahead and create 2 more items for us. And you can also see when you add new attribute you have multiple options. So you can add string, number, boolean, binary, and all these, as you can see over here. So we will go ahead and create our last item for this database. And now here you can see that we have all of these items created. So with this I hope you have got an understanding of how you can create DynamoDB table and add items into that table that we have created. Hello everyone and welcome to this lab session. In this session we will look at how you can perform scan and queries on your table in AWS DynamoDB. So for that we have the first option, which is scan. So I will first of all reset it, and over here you can see whenever you run your scan, so it basically shows you all of your items that are inside the table. So if you just run it, it will show you that you have 4 items, and it will list down all the items that are inside this particular table in DynamoDB. So if you go to the query option, so inside the query you have the option to select your table or index. So we have our table named as employee details, and then you need to give an employee ID. So you can see that we have 4 employee IDs as of now. So if you want to search one of the employee IDs in your data sets, so let's suppose you have a large amount of data set points in your DynamoDB table. So you can actually search your employee ID by just typing in the employee ID for that which you are looking for, and just run the query. And then here you can see that it provides you the detail for that particular employee ID that we have just queried. In the same way you can also search with the help of the sort key as well. So if you remember, the sort key is employee name in our case. So if I just go and set a name, so let's suppose I want to set a name over here as Shoaib, and just run this query. So you see that it will not allow you to run this query if you just type in the sort key. So you also need to give in the employee ID as well. So I will type in the employee ID. So let's suppose the employee ID is 101. Just run this query. So you can see that it returns you the query that we have searched for. So with this I hope you have got an understanding of how you can perform your scans and queries in your table in AWS DynamoDB. Hello everyone and welcome to this lab session. In this session we will look at how you can delete items from your tables, and also we will look at how you can delete a DynamoDB table in your AWS account. So we will go to our employee details table, and over here you can see the option that says explore table items. Go to this option over here, and these are the items that are currently residing inside this table, employee details. So if you want to delete an item, you just select that item that you want to delete. So you just select that item, go to the actions, and then you have multiple options over here. You can edit the item, you can duplicate this item, you can delete the item, and you can download the selected items to CSV file or the selected results to the CSV file. As we are interested in deleting the items, so we will click on delete items and then click on delete. So now you can see if I run the scan, so over here we only have 3 items left. So if you want to delete all of these items, just select all items, go to the action and delete items, and then you can delete it. So now you can see that all of the items are now deleted. Now let's see how you can delete tables. So go to the tables option. So this is the table that we want to delete. Just select that table and click on delete, and this is a heads up call. So just type in delete and then delete the table. Within a minute time, it will delete this table. So now you can see that the table is deleted and we do not have any tables inside our DynamoDB database. So with this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can delete items in your DynamoDB table, as well as how you can delete a table in your DynamoDB database. Hello everyone and welcome to this lab session. In this session, we will look at how you can use AWS CloudFormation in order to create an environment in Cloud9 IDE so that you can launch a command line interface over the web console itself. And then using that console, we will look at how you can execute some commands in order to interact with your DynamoDB, create tables, perform scans and perform queries on the database. So before we get started, the first thing we need to do is we will go to the service console, and over here we will search for CloudFormation. So here you can see that this is the dashboard for the AWS CloudFormation, which actually allows you to create stacks, and stacks are basically a collection of AWS resources that you can use with the help of multiple services offered by AWS. So the first thing we will do is we will go to the create stack option, and over here we have 3 options. Either you can upload a template if you have a ready template available, that is what we will go for. Then you have a sample template, so you can actually select a sample template from the available templates, and then you can create your own template in a template designer. So we will go for the template is ready option, and we will upload a template. So you have 2 options to upload a template. You can either paste in the S3 URL where you have that template, or you can go and upload a template from your local directory. So we will choose a file, and this is the template that we want to use. If you want, you can also view it in a designer as well. So if I show you a quick view of this, so you can see over here that we have the DynamoDB Cloud9 environment residing inside a public subnet, and then you have the route table for private B. So basically this template have 3 private subnets and 1 public subnet. So if you can see over here that this is the private B, this is the private C, and this is the private A. So these are the 3 private subnets, and then we have a public subnet, and then obviously we have their route tables as well. So we won't be going much into this detail. I will just close it for now. And over here, as we have uploaded our templates, so we will go ahead and click on next. So over here you can see that these are all the parameters that are inside the template. So don't worry about the template, I will be providing it in the resource section. Let's give a stack name. So I will name this stack as DynamoDB-labs, and then click on next. So now we have the options for tags. We won't be using any tags for now. IAM role if you want to use, so this is optional. And then you have this stack failure option. So what do you want to do if the stack fails to create? So you can either roll back all stack resources or preserve successfully provisioned resources. The first option will actually roll back all the stack resources, so all of the stack resources that you use will go back to their default states. Or if you go for preserve successful provisioned resources, so in that case only those resources that are successfully provisioned would only be remained, and all others will be rolled back. Then you have some advanced options for stack policy, rollback configurations, notification and stack creation options. We won't be using those as of now. Click on next. And then you have the review console over here, so you can actually review whatever the stack you are creating, what are the resources and the parameters that you are going to use. So I will go ahead and create the stack. So the creation is in progress as of now. So you can see that whatever the resources we actually wanted to use, so we have the VPC, the internet gateway, all of these resource creation are being initiated. Once all of these resources are created, you will see green status for all of these. So you can see that the private subnets are also created, and then you can see the internet gateway and the VPC is also created. Let's wait for all of these status to turn green, and then we will go to the Cloud9 console and start our command line interface. Alright, so all of the resources are created. So as you can see that this was the subnet private A, and then you can see the subnet private A create complete. So it shows you the first status that it was create in progress, and then it shows you that create is complete. So once you refresh it, you will see all of these status coming in. So now we will go to the AWS Management Console and search for Cloud9. And over here you can see that inside your environments you have this DynamoDB Labs IDE created, and you can actually open it as well. So before we continue, let me just tell you what AWS Cloud9 actually is. So with the help of AWS Cloud9, you can actually write and run and debug your codes with the help of a browser for the AWS resources that you are using inside your AWS account. So this is basically a user-friendly tool for developers and business owners so that they can test their infrastructure and debug their codes in real time. So what I will do is I will go back to the environments, and over here you can see that we have this environment ready. So I will open this IDE. So the Cloud9 is being launched. Let's wait for it to be ready for our first use. I will just close the welcome screen for now, and then I will go to the plus option over here, and then it asks you like if you want to create a new file or open a new terminal. So basically we will go for the option of new terminal, and then here you can see that we have this terminal launched. So the first thing we will do is we will check if we have our environment successfully set it up. So we will run the command AWS sts get-caller-identity. So this will show us our identity that our account is successfully initiated for this Cloud9 to be used. And here we go. So I have all of my details over here correctly fetched. So now we can go ahead and create our databases from this AWS CLI, which is being executed within the Cloud9 console. I will just zoom it in, and I will just run the command AWS DynamoDB list tables. So if you have any tables inside our DynamoDB, it will just list all the tables over here. As of now, we know that we do not have any tables, so you can see that it shows an empty list over here because we do not have any tables as of now in our account. So with this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can create an environment for Cloud9 so that you can execute your commands successfully as you do on your command line interface. And in our upcoming sessions, we will look at how we can create DynamoDB tables, load sample data over there, and then how you can perform scans and queries over that tables that we create inside the DynamoDB. Hello everyone, and welcome to this lab session. In this session, we will look at how you can create tables with the help of the CLI tool in your Cloud9 environment. So before we get started, let us first see how many tables do we have. So if I go to the tables over here, you can see that we do not have any tables right now. So I will go back to the Cloud9 environment, and here is our terminal. And in order to run any command for DynamoDB, you write down AWS, then DynamoDB. To list the tables, we will write down list-tables, and this will show you the tables that you have inside your account. So right now we do not have any tables. I will clear it out. I have a command over here that will create a table for us. So let's understand this code line by line. So we have over here AWS DynamoDB create table. So this create table will actually create a table for us. In the next line we have table name. So you give a table name and then the argument is the product catalog. So our table name will be product catalog for this table that we will be creating. After you give the table name, you need to give the attribute definitions. So this is basically an array of attributes that describe the key schema for the table and indexes. So we have our attribute name as ID, and the attribute type for this ID is n. So n basically means that the attribute type is number. If you want the attribute type to be string, you can write s, or if you want it to be a binary, you can write down b instead of n. After we have defined the attribute definitions, we need to define the key schema. So the key schema specifies the attributes that make up the primary key for a table or an index. So for the key schema, you must take care of a note that the attributes in the key schema that you are declaring, so in our case is ID, that must also be declared inside the attribute definitions, else you will get an error when creating the table. So the key type for this attribute name is hash. So hash basically means that we are declaring it as a partition key, or if you want it to be a sort key, so you can write range instead of hash over here. Then the last thing which is necessary to create a table is the provision throughput. So the provision throughput represents the provision throughput settings for a specified table or an index. So over here you can see that we have the read capacity units of 10 and the write capacity units of 5. So with this we will copy these statements. We'll go back to the console and paste it over here. Let's hit enter. So you can see that you get a JSON output. So this basically means that you have successfully created your table, and you can also see the table description as well. It shows you the attribute definitions. So we have an attribute name as ID, and then the attribute type is N, which is number. Then we have the table name, which is product catalog, and that is what we wanted as well. The key schema is the attribute name is ID, and then the key type is hash. So as we discussed, hash actually represents the partition key, and we do not have sort key, as sort key is optional for DynamoDB tables. Then the table status is creating, and the table is actually created. That is why you can see that we have the table ARN and the table ID also generated. And then you can also see the provision throughput is the one that we declared. So the read capacity units is 10 and the write capacity units is 5. So if you do not declare the provision throughput, it will actually go to the default one, and it will allocate the read and the write capacity units as per your requirement. The same way as we saw when we were creating our table from the console. So I will write down the command AWS DynamoDB list dash tables, and here you can see that we have this product catalog table created. You can also verify it from your dashboard for DynamoDB, and you can see over here that this product catalog table. With this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can create tables in your DynamoDB with the help of the CLI tool or with the help of a Cloud9 environment that we just created. Hello everyone, and welcome to this lab session. In this session we will look at how you can insert items inside your table that we have just created. So if I just go to the table over here, you can see we have created this product catalog table, and in here if you go to the explore table items, you will find that there are no items inside as of now. So moving back over here, I will just clear this screen, and to insert the items inside our table, we have a JSON file already available. So this is the link over here, and if I just go to this link, it will download a zip file. And if I just show you the contents inside this, so we have the product catalog JSON file over here, and inside the file you have these items already written in JSON format. So the put request over here will create a request to put the item, and the items over here are 101, the ID, the title for the book, and then the ISBN number, the authors, the price for that book, dimensions of the hardcover for this book, page count, its status, either it is in publication or not, and then the product category. So you can see that all of these attributes are for one single item. So you can see over here that these two curly braces contain the put request for the first item, and then we have the put request for the second item, which will have the same book category. Then for the third item we also have the book category. For the fourth item we have a bicycle category, which is not a book category, and you can also see the attributes are different as compared to the book category. So this is the beauty of DynamoDB table as well, that you can have multiple attributes and different product categories as well. So, and moving on, for the next one we also again have the bicycle category, and then for the other put request for the item we again have bicycle category. Moving on, we have all as bicycles. So we have two basic categories, the bicycle and the book category. So let's move further and see how you can actually upload this JSON file and make it appear as items in your table. So for that, the first thing we will do is we will copy the link, and the link that we had with wget. So I will write down wget and then the link over here. So you can see that we have this sample.zip file. I will hit enter. and it will be downloaded. So you can see that it is downloaded in our current directory as well. The next thing we will do is we will unzip this folder, unzip sample data.zip. So this will unzip all the contents, and you can see over here that we have the product catalog.json file in our current directory right now. I will just clear the screen. Then moving on, the command that we need to write is AWS DynamoDB. As we know, we are dealing with the DynamoDB. Then we will use the command batch-write-item. So this batch-write-item command will actually insert multiple items inside your table. And just remember from the exam point of view as well that you can only write 25 items in a single go. So batch write items, and then you need to tell the request items. So the request items that we have is inside the file, and the file name we know is product catalog.json. So this is the file name that I have written over here. Hit enter, and now you can see that it returns unprocessed items are null. So basically it has processed all the items and nothing is left unprocessed. So this basically means that all of the items that were inside this product catalog.json file have been uploaded successfully. So you can see all of these items that were over here will also be seen inside the table. So I will just go to the table, and now you can see over here that all of those items that we saw previously are now inside our table. So you can see for the authors we have list format, the bicycle are these, and then moving on we have the brand, the color, the description, and then for the books you can see these are the books, the authors for the book, then we have the dimensions for the book, the in publication status, and all those things. So with this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can upload your data sets that is residing somewhere over the internet, or you can have any link of S3 buckets as well. So how you can actually insert your items in your DynamoDB table. Hello everyone, and welcome to this lab session. In this session we will look at how you can perform scans and queries on your dataset inside your AWS DynamoDB table. So basically scans and queries are used to read your data inside your tables. So over here you can see that we have these data points. So these are basically the items inside our DynamoDB table that we just created previously. So if you want to list down all of these items from your CLI to see whatever the items are inside your table, so we perform a scan. So let's see how we can perform a scan. So for that we write down AWS DynamoDB. So as we are using DynamoDB, so we will write down DynamoDB and then scan, the keyword to scan the table, and then you need to give in the table name. So before that we give that okay, we are giving a table name, and the table name as we know is product catalog. Hit enter, and here you can see that all of those items that we have inside our table product catalog are listed over here. So we have the items, the title, which is the bicycle category, then we have again the bicycle category, and then moving on we also had books category as well. So you can see that we have the book category over here as well. So these are all the items that are listed inside our DynamoDB table. In the same way we can also perform queries as well. So in order to perform a query we use the keyword getItem. For example, we have over here this ID which is 101, and if you just go inside to this, you can see for this item we have all of these attributes. So we have title, in publication status, page count, dimensions, and the ISBN number, followed by the authors, then we have the price, and then the product category. So moving back, let me just paste a command over here. So over here what we asked DynamoDB was to get item, and that get item was basically the product catalog table. Get item was basically to get the item from the product catalog table, and then over here you can see we provided a key as well. So the ID which we wanted was 101, and you can see that it fetched us the data for 101 ID, and these are the data points. So we have the book title, then the in publication status, page count, dimensions, ISBN number, authors, price, product category, and the ID for that particular item key that we asked it to retrieve for us. So just to mention over here, by default, if we perform a get item query, so it performs an eventual consistency, because the eventually consistent reads in DynamoDB are half the price of a strongly consistent read. So for example, if you want to perform a strong consistent read, it will fetch for you all the data points that have been added in your table just recently as well. But if you perform a eventual consistency based query, there are chances that it might not bring you the results that have been recently added. So let's see how you can perform a strong consistent read. So for that, we have a query over here. I will just clear out the screen. So over here you can see that we have this DynamoDB. We are performing the same get item, and from our table product catalog, then we provided the same key, but this time we provided a consistent read. So even if this data was previously updated or an attribute was added to this, it would fetch us directly while performing this query, because the reason is we have provided consistent read over here, as you can see. So this basically asks the DynamoDB to perform a strongly consistent read, and then we have the project expression over here. So we have only asked this time for the product category, the price and the title, and you can see we only have the price over here, so we have asked for price. We have asked for title, so we have the title over here, and then we have the product category as well. So if you don't mention this, it will bring you all the attributes for that key that you have provided. And then this time we have also asked for the return consumed capacity. So basically we are reading from the DynamoDB table, and you can see over here that the capacity units that were consumed to read this data point was 1.0. So we basically consumed one capacity unit for this operation. But in the same way, if we go and perform a query that does not involve this consistent read operation, so let's see what do we get in that case. So for that, I have this query over here, and over here you can see that we have the same project expression, but this time I haven't included the term which says consistent read over here. So over here, if we see the capacity consumed, so this is 0.5. This is because when we perform a strong consistent read, it takes double the capacity that it requires when performing an eventual consistency read. So this is how you perform your queries in your AWS DynamoDB table with the help of CLI tool. So we have seen basically two types of examples by which you can read your data points or items inside your DynamoDB table. So the first one was a scan, in which if you want all of your items to be listed, you use the scan operation, and if you want some specific attribute based query, so you perform the query with the help of get item keyword. So with this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can perform scans and queries on your tables in DynamoDB. Hello everyone, and welcome to this lab session. In this session, we will look at how we can perform insert operation and update operation on your items inside DynamoDB tables. So first thing we will look at, if you want to insert a new item in your existing table, so how you can do that. So for that, over here you can see that we have this statement. So in here we have AWS DynamoDB put item. So this put item will basically insert a new item in the table name that you provide. So the table name is product catalog, and in here we are going to add an item for which the ID is number type and the ID is 401. And then we have the title for this book, which is book 401 title. Then we have a random ISBN number for this book. So the author's attribute type is list, and then we have two string values, author 4 and author 5. Moving on, we have the price attribute. So this is a number and its price is 40. Then we have the dimensions, page count, in publication status, which is a boolean. So for boolean or binary, we write down B over here, so you can see it is B. Then we have the product category, which is a string, and that is a book. And then we will ask DynamoDB to actually return the consumed capacity as well. So this consumed capacity will be the write capacity that will be consumed when this operation for put item will be performed. So let's copy this. Moving on to the console, before I type down this command in the CLI, so if you see over here, if I just refresh this product catalog table for you, there is no 401 ID existing as of now. So let's just execute this statement, hit enter, and over here you can see that it returned the capacity units that were utilized were 1.0. So basically 1.0 is the one write capacity was consumed, and we also have our table got inserted with this data point. So if we go over here and just refresh it, so you can see that the 401 ID is now added. We have two authors, author 4 and 5, and then we have the dimensions, and then we have the ISBN number, page count, and all those statuses over here. So moving on, let's just see how you can also perform an update. So for the update operation, you can see over here we have this statement. So this statement will perform an update item, and this time we will perform an update on key, which will be ID, and the ID is 101. And over here we will set the values for the product category and for the price. So if you can see over here, whatever value you provide for this column C will be replaced with the product category, and whatever value you provide for column P will be replaced by the price value existing right now for this item. So what we are going to do is we will be replacing the category. Instead of book, we will do a bicycle over here, even though it's not a bicycle, but just for the sake of this example. And then the price, we will update it to 700. So if I just show you the item 101 right now, so you can see over here that right now this 101 item have product category as book, and the current price is 2 over here, and this is for 101. Let's go ahead and update it. So I will just copy this statement, paste it over here, hit enter. So as we asked, it returned the capacity units as well, and as well as the updated values. So because we asked it to return the values that are all new, so it updated all new values, as well as it also returned to us the capacity as well. So the capacity consumed was 1. Let's go over here and refresh it. So I will just refresh this, and now you can see over here for 101 we have the price updated as 700, and we have product category changed to bicycle instead of book. So with this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can perform insert operation and update operation on your items in DynamoDB Table in AWS. Hello everyone, and welcome to this lab session. In this session, we will look at how you can delete items from your DynamoDB Table in AWS. So for that, if you see over here, we have added this new item over here, which is with ID 401. And we have all the details for its attributes. So we have authors, then we have the dimensions, in publication, ISBN, page count, price, and the product category along with the title. So if you just want to delete this item, which is with ID 401, so for that we write down the statement, which is something like this. So to delete the item, we use the statement delete item, then we provide the table name, which is product catalog, and with that we provide the key for the ID or for the attribute that you are interested to delete. So right now we are interested in deleting the ID, which is with number type 401. So once we execute this statement, it will delete the item completely from the table. So let's just copy it, and I will paste it over here, hit enter. So you can see it executed and it comes back to the console. So if you go back over here and just refresh it, so now you can see that the ID 401 along with its attributes and data is not available in this DynamoDB table. Let's also see how you can delete a table in your DynamoDB. So for that, over here you can see we have a statement which says AWS DynamoDB, and then we have the statement to delete table, and over here we have provided the table name. So the table name is product catalog. So I will just copy this statement and paste it in over here. Let's run it. So now you can see over here that this table name is product catalog, table status is deleting, and let's go to our DynamoDB over here and see inside the tables if we have tables still there or not. So if you just refresh it, you will see that the data just goes away. This basically means that we do not have the table right now and the status is unknown. When it will be completely deleted, so now you can see it is completely deleted and now it is not in our table list anymore. With this, I hope you have got an understanding of how you can delete items from your table and how you can perform delete table operations on your table in AWS.